I got you stuck. Got you stuck off the real, the realness.
Welcome to the Audacity Podcast. I am the man on the street. And today, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to be talking about is a sad situation coming out of New York City. I'm talking about the situation that happened on the New York City subway line on May 1st. Yes, we're talking about the Marine veteran, Mr. Penny here, who held a young brother in a chokehold for 3 minutes, Mr. Jordan Neely, causing him to lose his life. But we got people like Mr. Kid Rock here saying that Mr. Penny is a hero. Then you got others saying that this guy deserves a medal for what he did. And if you haven't seen what he did, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at this video.
Tonight, the man who put Jordan Neely in a deadly chokehold on a New York City subway will be arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter, according to the Manhattan District Attorney. 24-year-old former Marine Daniel Penny, seen in this disturbing video from May 1st, restraining Neely in a chokehold for at least 3 minutes. Police say Neely was harassing passengers and acting erratically on the train, but was not physically violent. The video also showing other passengers holding Neely down. The 30-year-old later pronounced dead at the hospital. Neely was a Michael Jackson impersonator, and attorneys for his family say he was homeless and battled mental health issues since his mother's murder in 2007.
It needs to be made clear that there are consequences when a civilian takes a situation into their own hands and causes a fatality.
No justice! No peace!
The incident setting off days of protests. New York City Mayor Eric Adams addressing Neely's death.
One thing we can say for sure, Jordan Neely did not deserve to die.
Tonight, Penny's attorney saying he stepped in to protect himself and his fellow New Yorkers, saying Neely's death was unintended and unforeseen, adding Penny will be fully absolved of any wrongdoing.
As you just heard, this guy think that he's going to get it off with it. His lawyer is saying that he's going to be resolved of all of this. But if you saw in the video, he had that young brother in a chokehold for 3 minutes. And they're saying that he's a hero. This guy is a vigilante. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have to hold that brother in that chokehold for 3 minutes. I know, as being an Army veteran, we know how to subdue people without causing them, seriously bodily harm. But like the lawyer said, Mr. Neely's lawyer said, when you do things like this, there's consequences that comes behind your action. And you even heard the mayor of New York City say that this young brother didn't deserve to die, and he shouldn't have died. He was having a mental breakdown or mental issue. If you've ever been, in New York City and you ever rode the train or you ever walked down the street or even in your hometown, you see people having, mental issues, and these people need to be helped, not put in a chokehold. This young brother should still be alive. But let's go to another take from Stephen A. Smith that he had on a show with Will Cain, and they talked about this situation.
Stephen A. Smith is the host of the No Mercy podcast. He's my old friend. I guess some would say my frenemy. And I'm so glad to have him with me tonight on the program. What's up, man? Glad to have you here.
I see you looking all polished, nice haircut and all of that stuff. Oh, you're a host now. That's why I had to come and join you. I'm a busy man. But I said I got to make time for this one. This is a special night. What's going on, man?
I know you're a busy man. And I know that because between the NBA playoffs and the No Mercy podcast, you're all over the place. Let me ask you this, Stephen A. I think the world needs more men like Daniel Penny to step up. What do you think about this encounter between Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely on the subway?
Now, you heard what you just said, ladies and gentlemen. He said that he needs more men like this to step up. Now, remember what Mr. Neely's lawyer said earlier. When you do things like this, there's repercussions. And you have to be aware that these repercussions may cause you to go to jail or, you might even get sued. So be mindful when people like Will Cain say things like this. And there's going to be somebody out there that's going to take this to heart, and they're going to do something, and they're going to wind up in a situation that Will Cain can't save them. Ask the people from the from the riot on the Capitol. Donald Trump ain't saving their behind. They're behind jail because they listened to something that Donald Trump said. And Will Cain is basically saying the same thing. So be prepared when you do something, when you listen to guys like this, and you find yourself in a situation where you can't get yourself out of.
Well, it's unfortunate and it's hard to come to a definitive conclusion. You listen to Mayor Eric Adams. I applaud the position that he took when he said, "Let's find out, let the matter be investigated by the district attorney's office. Let's see what that reveals, and then after that, a decision needs to be made." Investigation followed, and obviously Perry is being charged with manslaughter charges. My position was this is where it came down to.
Okay.
If you're skilled enough to know how to put the chokehold on someone, you should be knowledgeable enough to know when enough is enough and to let them go.
Now you heard what Stephen A. Smith said. You know, he waited to hear you know, from the evidence, but he kind of contradicted himself a little later on. But like he said, and what I totally agree on, if you know how to put a chokehold on somebody, you know when to let go. 3 minutes is too long to hold anybody in a chokehold. Anybody. And being a Marine vet, he knows that. He knows that. He knows. He knows. He just knows. Being an Army vet, I know. So, but this is the guy that they're calling a hero. And Mr. Will Cain, he wants more guys like this out there on the street. Okay? Be careful what you ask for. Just be careful what you ask for.
Having said all of that, again, I don't know all the facts, so I'm not ready to convict him like a lot of people, politicians and citizens have been so quick to convict this man of that. I think we need to hear all the evidence. He did have him in a chokehold for in excess of 3 minutes. That seemed a bit excessive, particularly considering that he had 2 other people helping him. But then again, we need to know more.
Got to be careful with
and
Monday
that's what
morning
happened.
quarterbacking, right? You've got to be careful in a situation like this,
Sure.
Monday morning quarterbacking. In my estimation, while I appreciate you wanting to wait for the facts, Stephen A.,
Now, I want y'all to take a listen to this. You hear how Stephen A. Smith say that he's waiting for the facts? See, what Stephen A. Smith is like what some of me and my friends call, some of me and my black friends call, putting your white voice on. This is not the same Stephen A. Smith that you hear when he's talking about black athletes or even black entertainers or even black people in general. He's more boisterous. He's more flamboyant. This is not the same Stephen A. Smith. So he's got his white voice on, trying to be political, you know. And that's one thing I hate about, you know, the left. You know, the left, they always try to be political. But listen to what this guy Will Cain said, you know, from the right, and the right, they're very blunt. They're right to the point. Listen to what he says. Just listen to how he says this.
I don't think the man should have even been charged, and I'm going to give you 2 reasons for that. One, was it reckless? To your point on how long he held the chokehold, he apparently rolled over Neely several times and gave him a relief position to begin to breathe.
Now, you heard what he said? He don't give a damn about what's covered out, no evidence, anything. He already made up his mind, and that's how the right do. They make up their mind that this guy's not guilty. Or better yet, he's a hero. He shouldn't have been charged in the first place. He's not even thinking about, you know, the young brother that lost his life. No, it's not in his mind at all. They're making this guy out to be a hero, and he's not. He's a vigilante. He's a vigilante. Let's continue.
I don't think the man should have even been charged, and I'm going to give you 2 reasons for that. One, was it reckless? To your point on how long he held the chokehold, he apparently rolled over Neely several times and gave him a relief position to begin to breathe. I don't think what we see here was reckless, and I certainly don't think he intended to kill Neely.
Now, how do he know that he gave that brother enough air for that brother to breathe? You don't know. You don't know. Even if he did roll over, he still had the chokehold on for 3 minutes. See, this is the hypocrisy that a lot of people like Will Cain would say. Come on. Let's continue.
And then to the larger point, by even charging him, you create a disincentive for strong men. Stephen A., you have sisters. You had a beloved mother. You were raised right here in New York City. You disincentivize strong men stepping up to help the vulnerable.
Now, you heard what he just said there now. And just like Neely's lawyer said earlier in the earlier video that we saw, you know, when you step up and do things like this, you're the one that's going to feel the repercussions. Not Will Cain, not me, not whoever. You're the one that's putting yourself out there to be in that type of situation. And Will Cain, he said the guy shouldn't have been charged. So he's not even thinking about the young man that lost his life. But yet we putting this guy, Penny, he's a hero. No, he's a vigilante. Let's call it just like it is. Let's call it just like it is. And like you said before, you got a wife, you got a kid, you whatever, your family members. If it was your family members being choked out on a train and ended up dying, you won't be saying this. You won't be calling me a hero if I choke one of your family members out and they end up dying, or if I give them bodily harm. You want to say, hey, this person needs to go to jail. They need to throw the book at him. So Will Cain, come on with that. Come on with that nonsense, Will Cain. You know better. Come on, Will Cain.
No doubt about that. I don't disagree with you. I get where you're coming from with that. Again, one of those details that you just pointed out in terms of him leaning over so he could breathe. I was not aware of that. So fairness to you in regards to that. But
There's no fairness to that. Come on. See, that's one thing I hate about when we try to be so. We're not trying to cause any type of trouble. We putting on that front. Stephen A., you know that wasn't the case. That brother was choked for 3 minutes. Say that. Ain't nothing but to turn it over. It giving no relief. We can't tell that from that video. You can't tell that, oh, he turned over, so he gave him a way so he could breathe. No, the brother lost his life. He lost his life because the guy choked him for 3 minutes. That's a fact. So you can save me with that nonsense, Will Cain. And Stephen A. Smith, shame on you for not calling him out on that. That was your chance to show to say exactly what I'm saying right now. Exactly. Because you can't tell. You cannot tell. And you should have called him out on that.
I would say to you is this, as a person that's from Hollis, Queens, that took the F train, the very train that this happened on. I took the F train for most of my young life on many, many occasions. I can't tell you the amount of times I saw an individual who just seemed to have some mental issues, shouting, screaming. I didn't hear them talk about how they wish they're ready to die or they don't mind going to jail and what have you. That can be a scary situation, so you understand why it would raise a red flag and put folks on high alert. Then again, that's entirely different than actually putting your hands on somebody or doing harm to them. That's why we've got to find out more, and that's why the investigation was warranted, because we don't know the intricate details. But based on what you're talking about, I can understand where you're coming from. And as a native New Yorker that's seeing crime ravaging through our streets or whatever, I don't blame a lot of citizens for being scared as hell right now for some of the stuff that's going on, because there's certainly not enough punishment, but there's far too much crime.
Anyone that's lived in New York has known what you've talked about here. Everyone has known that scary moment on the train. And from what I understand, Daniel Penny grew up in Long Island, lived in Queens, so he was probably not unfamiliar with these situations. And now I'm speculating, Stephen A., my suspicion is he's felt somehow this time was different. This was not just a crazy man yelling and ranting and raving. This one had the potential for violence. And
I'm in it there, ladies and gentlemen. Like you say, this guy, he's from New York City. And like Stephen A. Smith said, he grew up in New York City, so you see this all the time. You probably even see this scene where you're from. So we can't let this be one of those things where stuff like this happens and we just say that, hey, a person is a hero. And like they said earlier, the guy, yes, he was being belligerent. Yes, he was being very boisterous, but he was not, physically hurting anyone. So he should not be, choked like that. They won't even do that to an animal. If he had did that to an animal, I bet you, people like Will Cain would be up in arms. How could you do that to an animal? But that's how they treat us, though. That's how they treat young black men. We're below an animal. Yeah, and I know a lot of people probably won't agree with me, but that's just the way I see it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you my final thoughts. You probably already know where I'm leaning towards and what I said earlier in this video. This guy's a vigilante, and he should be treated as one. Even though he's a veteran, he knows better. He's a Marine veteran. He knows better. So save me with all that. He's not a hero. He don't deserve a medal. He deserved the same punishment. If I was to go do that, I would deserve the same punishment because I committed a crime. And what he did, he committed a crime. He cost somebody their life. Somebody's loved one is gone because he didn't think about that. He didn't think about releasing that chokehold. So leave something down in the comments if you agree with me or if you don't disagree with me. All right. And with that,
What